Can I animate on paper? So, originally Animator would use paper and plastic cells and things like that to animate on, but us young folks have gotten accustomed to just cracking open some sort of device, whether it be a phone, iPad, computer, and animating on that. It is way easier to, well, I was gonna say it's easier to get into, but everyone has paper, so it's equally as easy to get into, but you have a higher ceiling as to the quality you can create versus using a paper because there's no layers, there's no undo button, and it really requires you to be way better at your craft than just using the device. I don't know, but I know that it's going to be difficult, especially for someone who's been doing digital art for so long and has not picked up a pencil in a while. I'm a little bit ashamed to say that, but I'm gonna test my limits and animate something on paper. Let's see what happens. So my initial thought was to animate a judo throw, which I thought would be perfect because it's something I'm familiar enough with. If you've seen my channel before, you can kind of gather that I like judo. I think it's really cool. Flipping people over, it's smooth, it's perfect. And as far as animation goes, I just love animating judo throws. But I wanted to do a little test first because I was thinking the judo animation would be a little bit more involved. So as my first forte into animating traditionally, I wanted to just do something simple, like maybe 10 frames. That's super simple, so let's attempt that. Also, I'm going to be using reference for all the animation I'm doing today, just because animating on paper is challenging enough. I'll do a part 2 eventually if this video does well, where I just animate from imagination on paper and try to make something anime quality. But today, we're just going to test this out, see how it works, and see what we can achieve in a short enough period of time. So I'm just using some regular copy paper, nothing too serious. I'm going to cut it in half because I think smaller working area will help me not overthink the art itself. And it's just nice and simple. Small piece of paper, easy to fill, no problem. I'm going to start simple with this kick that I'm referencing from Joshua Ayala. This is the video if you guys want to watch it. It's pretty funny. But this kick is dynamic, but very short. I was able to plan it out to be 10 frames long. So what I did was I took the video and I screenshotted it at key moments, so to make my keyframes, and I got 10 screenshots. Then, looking at those screenshots, I drew this stick figure-ish man just to get the animation rolling. I don't want to waste time drawing a bunch of frames if they're not going to line up perfectly. I've animated a lot, so I'm not super worried about how good it will turn out. I'm just more wondering what it's going to look like. I found it also super important to number the frames because after doing 3, I was already mixing them up a little bit, so I just quickly numbered them and proceeded to number all the rest of them. I would also, since I don't have an onion skin or a light table, I would just take the previous frame and put it underneath the current one that I was working on and just kind of use that. You can kind of see, you might not be able to see it on camera, but I could kind of see through the paper a little bit to the work I had done before. And while it wasn't as clear as, of course, using an onion skin or a light table, it was very much workable. I made sure to keep this ground plane consistent, like where his foot will land, so that he doesn't end up in a different space. I also tried to keep his proportions consistent, as when you animate something, sometimes you can just have the head slowly shrink, or certain parts of the body will shrink or get larger, and it's just an inconsistency that's bothersome. I also decided I'm going to make this animation loop because looping animations are just way more satisfying, especially when they're short. So I thought I would just find a way to loop this seamlessly. And the way I did that was I grabbed my iPad, put it to like a white screen, turned up the light to maximum, and put the first frame on it. Then I put the second to last frame also there, and then I put the blank frame on top of that. So I used both of them, and I drew kind of in between them, as if you would do if you were making an in-between. And it actually worked surprisingly well. The light wasn't as bright as I would have liked it to be. I suppose if I turned off the lights in my room and just used the iPad light, it would have shone through a little bit better, but I want you guys to actually be able to see what I'm drawing, so I opted not to do that. And once it was done, I tried to flip through it, but I didn't cut the pages evenly, and it just wasn't smooth to flip through. I even grabbed this clip to try and like hold it in place. It just didn't work. It didn't work at all. I then went over to the printer and I scanned in each individual frame and then digitally cut them together to make this. I'm really happy with it. It turned out pretty cool, actually. The loop is satisfying. It's a little quick, but it's very nice. I'm happy with it. I also cranked up the brightness and the saturation, and I sharpened the lines a little bit just so it's a little bit clearer to read. I realized I was sketching light, mostly because I want to draw over it without having residue of the lines that I erase, but I went super light and I just had to darken that down. So with the test all done, me knowing that this will work out well, I'm going to do the line work for this. I'm going to bring back this simple, no face, no detail character made of solid color. I used him in my bare hands versus knife animation that I did a while ago. And this is just super simple. It's easy, but satisfying enough. Doing the line work was pretty straightforward. It only took me about 25 minutes to do, so that's really great. You might have been able to see in the time-lapse there that I would actually take the finished line work and put it underneath the next frame, and I could just kind of reference the proportions and everything like that. It doesn't really come through on camera, but I could faintly see the previous frame. Now I'm going to scan these again and cut them back into an animation just to make sure everything's still looking good, and so that I have the black and white version before I add the color. So now that I know the line work looks good and I'm happy with that, I'm going to add the color. I've decided to use alcohol markers for this because they go down really smooth, they look really good. Also, because they're so strong, they can bleed through basically anything, even thick art paper made for alcohol markers. It still bleeds through a little bit. So this little copy paper doesn't really stand a chance. And knowing that, I cut a scrap off of an Amazon box and just laid it under there to mitigate that problem. After I did the line work too, I erased all the pencil lines that were visible. I smudged a little bit of the ink on a few that weren't dry yet, but for the most part, that was just a 3-minute job, super easy. Barely an inconvenience. And now that it's all colored, I will scan it once again and finish this video. A cool thing about using the alcohol markers is that when they bled through, you could see through to the backside. And I also scanned that side just to kind of see what that would look like, seeing the animation like that, almost like it's just watercolors or something. And it's decent, pretty cool. So that's it. If you guys want to see more of this animated on paper stuff, definitely let me know. If it gets a lot of likes and you guys like it a lot, I might try something like getting a light table and making like a short film animating on paper, or like reanimating live action scenes up. There's so many possibilities. So you guys' reaction to this video will definitely let me know. But until then, like, subscribe, and if you want to see me mix 2D and 3D animation, press one of these videos here.